Okay, if you don't know, this is officially part 3 of a 4-part series called Why I Chose Emerson. And every part I recap kind of like a different year at Emerson. So like part 1 is freshman year, part 2 is sophomore year, etc. Right? You can kind of figure out the rest. So this is part 3. This is officially junior year. So if you have not listened to the other 2 parts, they're brilliant. I recommend going back and listening to them. My memory is they were good episodes, I think. I know the guests were good. We had good guests, especially Tom, because Tom, like, no, not that makes it sound like I'm ragging on Andy. I love Andy. Andy's been a guest on Greenlit. He's been on twice, which is the other podcast we do here at Quaywood Productions. But Tom, we've never gotten. I've always wanted to get Tom on either one of the shows. So to finally get him for part 2 was awesome. So if you want to go listen to Tom and not me, which is probably pretty wise, I would go do that. Just go listen to part 2, skip part 1, skip this one, turn this off, and then part 4, forget about it. Dislike it, block it on YouTube, like try to get that shit removed. You know what I mean? That's just if you're a Tom fan. But this is part 3 of 4 parts. So if you listen to the other 2 parts, welcome back. It's good to be back. If you haven't and you're just listening to this anyway, weird choice, but all right. Like, I welcome everyone, okay? I'm very inclusive like that. But if you listen to part 2, I don't think I did it in part 1, but I like to start these episodes, or at least bring them up in the episode, of these journal articles that I wrote at Emerson. Like, I wrote in my time at Emerson. I kept a journal. I barely ever wrote in it, so it's like one entry every like 8 or 9 months. But just to kind of like show where I was at in the headspace while I was there and not like kind of looking back. So this is from September 2nd, 2022. It starts good. Over a whole year without journaling. God damn. I'm not even sure how to do these anymore, so I apologize for the major lack of consistency. And I highlighted major. Oh, some of these I probably shouldn't read. Fuck it, let's do it. Life has been weird. Summer was really tough. Spent it alone in Wilton, which I no longer live at. But I learned quickly that I prefer to live with people. Spent most of my time on the phone with Allie to keep me busy. Some dark months, but overall, I survived. So I'm going into Emerson in like a positive headspace, right? Like I'm fucking pumped. This is also like I traveled Europe and I did a semester abroad and just went fucking crazy. And I found like I like really founded myself again and I felt super confident. So then I had this summer and then I was going back with like a fucking vengeance, right? Like I was going back pumped. And then over the summer, I also shot a triptych about water. And shooting triptych was easily a highlight of the summer, if not the best weekend of my entire life. If only I journaled during that weekend. I put a little sad face. And then I'm not going to say the name, but I did put best part of the weekend equals, and then it's a girl's name that I met that weekend. Womp womp, that also didn't end very well. But, listen, you try your best. Okay, circling back to now. This is really the key highlight for what's about to happen in part 3. I'm officially back at Emerson. First couple days were great with just me and 2 of my roommates. And then I put cameos by some other people. Got weirder when someone else showed up. And we're going to get to that in a second. His presence alone takes a lot of my energy, and living with that makes me feel like I'm losing my personality. I go from the main character to supporting in my own life. That's so sad. And when I say main character, I don't mean like that stupid fucking main character energy thing, because that is fucking annoying. But just like, I don't know, you ever felt like the side character in your own life, you know what I mean? Not the best feeling. And then, again, I met 2 people at the castle, one of them being Allie, one of them, I don't want to say her name, but we became like very good friends, and it was with these 2 people I like traveled to Europe and just went crazy and lived large. So I put Blank and Allie are here, which is nice, but I'm not sure how I feel about them integrating into my current friend group, because you gotta remember, the castle people, I felt like I could be myself and it was fun, whatever. And then my friend group back at Emerson, if you recall my other really sad journal notes here, I never felt like myself. Like I never felt like I could be myself. I never ever felt 100% comfortable around them. So the idea, I remember all summer being like the idea of those 2 groups coming together like freaks me out. It genuinely freaks me out because I don't know how I'm going to act. Like I'm going to try to just be myself, obviously. But like sometimes my brain just like shuts it down and my brain can't get comfortable around certain people. There's literally nothing I can do about it. Like if I'm around someone I'm super comfortable with, I come up with jokes super easy. I come up with conversations super easy. Like I don't have to really even think about it. And then when I'm around someone I'm not super comfortable with, it's like my brain just literally shuts down. It's like a factory and everyone just quits. And all of a sudden there's no jokes being made. There's no conversations being made. I'm like, what is this? So to have the two polar opposites come together, yeah, I was fucking terrified. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. I want to keep them as separate as possible, but I also want them in my room, so it's impossible. Because I was living with the old friend group, which we established like before I even went to the castle. And I made these new friends, and I was like, fuck, like, I don't know what to do. And I was just really nervous. I'm worried they're going to really like them, and then I'm going to lose my castle people, especially the one guy. And I put curse that man. But then I put in red peace and love. I think I felt bad for writing curse that man. Whoops. Great start, but getting stranger. I'll actually keep you updated this time. And then I just didn't do that at all. And the next, just so you know, that was September 2nd, 2022. The next journal article was January 12th, 2024. It was like a year and a half later. So yeah, kind of screwed the pooch on that one. But anyway, welcome back to Director and Development. Welcome back to Director and Development, the podcast that does not stop until it's announced I'm directing Avengers 9 or 10, or at the rate I'm going, Avengers 12, okay? It's taking a second to get off on the ground here. Started this podcast, like October of last year? I was like, this is going to be me documenting breaking into Hollywood. And then all of the episodes so far have just been like, here's stuff I've done in the past because I've made like no progress. Slowly but surely, okay? Very slowly, but surely Avengers 12 is coming, and it will be written and directed by Matthew Pelton. Maybe co-directed. Matthew Pelton and Nick Warner. I don't know. We've been talking about co-directing. Okay, it's interesting because me and Nick is a pair. For all of our creative stuff, Nick is always like the producer guy. Like he's like a logistical guy, but also like that's like his main role like on paper, but also like in terms of just like our partnership, he's a very big creative guy as well. Like if I have ideas or like I'm not sure where to like take a story or a character, whatever, I always go to him. So even though like if you look at like the IMDb credits, he's just like executive producer and editor, he does a lot more creative stuff as well. Especially he's also like always the DP. So a lot of the times we'll make a shot list and like take a scene let's say the scene's like 5 pages. I'll have like, when I wrote it, I'll have like 2 shots that I specifically really wanted that I pictured. And then the rest I'm just like, hey Nick, what do we do? Like, I don't know. I don't really know how cameras work. I'm really bad at it being a DP. Can you just do it? And then he'll be like, I'm thinking like we'll get a medium, a close-up, and an extreme close-up. And I'm like, that's fucking fine by me. I do what you want. You're the DP, I trust you. I'm like, as long as we get like this one weird shot in it, I'm a happy boy. So anyway, most of the time, even though like he does do creative stuff, he is like camera guy and then like a lot of like producing logistics stuff. Like I'll send him a script and then I'm like, hey, let's just give me money and I'll make it. And he's like, okay, let's actually figure out how to do that. But recently he's started talking about, he's like, I kind of want to like direct something or like try to co-direct it, especially because he's like a giant animation guy. And I gotta be honest, before meeting Nick, I didn't really give a fuck about animation. I didn't like dislike it. It wasn't like I saw something animated, I'm like, ew. I just never really thought twice about it, to be honest. Like I was like, yeah, it's animated, cool. Like I never really cared about like the people who animated it or like the animation company. But then I met Nick and he really got me hooked on like the art of animation. And then we talked to like Usman, who made The Glass Worker. He also, his favorite movie was like Wind Rises, so we covered Wind Rises on Greenlit, and that was really cool to actually talk to like an animator. And then we've talked to people who like worked on robots and worked on Chicken Run and worked on other movies that I can't tell you about because those episodes aren't out yet and I don't want to spoil future Greenlit episodes. Just know we've got some really cool people in the pipeline. But anyway, Nick got me hooked on animation, so we've been talking about doing animated things. We have one thing where the audio is done without spoiling anything, And we're like, what if we made it animated? We weren't even gonna make it animated. It wasn't even gonna be a Quaywood thing. And then the audio was so cool that we're like, fuck, we could turn this into something. We could do this. So we're talking about maybe animating something there. And then Nick gave me this whole fucking Zoom meeting where he pitched me all these ideas he had. And I was like, uh-oh, because I didn't come up with these, so they're probably fucking shit. But then he pitched them, and I'm like, oh, actually, some of these are really cool. They were really interesting. And most of them were animated. So one of them we chose to focus on, like, for now. And that's going to be animated. And that was also, like, again, it's so tough because I want to tell you everything. And I want to give away so much stuff that Quaywood is working on. Because we're working on such cool things. But I can't because I know Nick will fucking kill me. No one's going to care. Nick, if you're listening, no one's going to care. We can tell them. No one listens to this show anyway, okay? Greenlit's the flagship show. They're like fucking the 4 people that listen to this episode. God forbid this is the one that blows up. But the 4 people that listen to this, 1, probably already know that we're working on animated stuff. Or 2, are going to forget because they're old and senile, like my dad, okay? So I feel like I can say it. I'm going to release this episode. Nick's going to listen to it. If I get approval, you should really check out Why I Chose Emerson College Part 4, okay? Because I'm going to spill so much Quaywood tea. I'm going to tell you all the terrible things Nick has done that, like, my lawyer said not to tell yet because we're working on the lawsuit. But I'm like, fuck it, dude. The public has a right to know what the hell Nick Warner's been up to. But anyway, weird side tangent. But me and Nick have been talking about co-directing, which I'm nervous, but also I'm really excited because a lot of the time, especially on set, Nick will have really good ideas, like in terms of how the actors should be kind of delivering a certain line or something like that. And I'm like, I think he could do like a really good job. Between the two of us, again, I would never say any of this to Nick's face, but between the two of us, I think Nick could do a really good job. But also, I'm fucking so bad with equipment. I can like technically set up a camera. You're gonna have to give me a second. But I can set up a camera, I can set up a tripod. I can set most things up if you give me a couple hours and an instruction manual. But I'm fucking terrible at using them. Like I said earlier, I'm a terrible DP. I can't make anything look pretty on a camera at all. I guess boom I could do, because you just kind of hold it. But even then, I feel like I'd always get it accidentally in frame, or I would hold it too far. Like, if I was a sound mixer, forget about it. Boom, maybe. Lighting, go fuck yourself. I don't understand lighting at all. I have gone through undergrad film classes about lighting. I've gone through grad school classes about lighting. I still don't get how lighting works whatsoever. I know there's Kelvin, it's how you measure something, and then there's other things that I don't understand. And all I know is when a lighting person is doing their job, I just look at the monitor. And then when eventually, the shot looks good, I'm like, just keep the light there. But if, they're like, where do you want me to put it? I'm like, just run around the set with it, and I'll let you know when it looks good. That's the best I can do. I'm sorry. That's why we have a cinematographer. Ask him. I don't know. I'm here to work with the actors, and that is it. I am very much a actor's director. I'm not a technical director whatsoever. So the only reason I'm kind of scared to co-direct with Nick is because that's the one thing I do. I only write and direct. And I'm like, this fucking guy, I love that I partnered with him because he's incredibly talented in terms of film and creativity and all that fucking nonsense. Goddamn, this kid should be studied. But if he comes in and he's fucking better director than I am, the fuck am I supposed to do? Just be the better looking of the two? Just look pretty on set? That I can do. I do it already. But then after that, then what? Then what? I'm fucked. So I want to co-direct, especially when it comes to animation, because that could be really fun. But I'm also really nervous because Nick is really good at what he does. I'm just going to be honest. He's really good. But anyway, long Nick tangent over. I like to bring up Nick every episode because there's this ongoing trend where on Greenlit, to his face, I just make fun of him and I fucking hate him. And then on director and development, when he's not here and he might not be listening, then I actually compliment him. But I like to think that he doesn't listen to these and he'll never know. So if you're listening to this and you also listen to Greenlit or you know Nick personally, whatever, if you're ever unfortunate enough to meet him, please don't ever tell him about all my compliments to him. because he very much thinks I'm an asshole, and I kind of like it that way. You know what I mean? So every episode, just as like an ongoing bit, I love to just drop. I love Nick Warner. He's very talented and creative, and one of the coolest fucking people I've ever met. And I'm so glad he is my partner and best friend. And you know what? At my wedding, he probably will be the fucking best man, okay? Unlike his, where I was not asked. It's fucked up. He refuses to ask me to be his best man. We did a whole Greenlit episode about it, where I called him out. Okay, that's coming out soon. But just know, Nick Warner pulled some shady ass shit, okay? And I'm not gonna be the best man at his wedding, which is fucked up. Cause it's me. It's me. We made a company together. We make movies together. Come on. But anyway, welcome back to Director and Development. This is why I chose Emerson, part 3 of 4 parts. If you don't know, like I said in the beginning, this is a 4-part series, so you should go listen to part 1 and part 2. Welcome to part 3. We're covering junior year. Now, if you don't know, for these episodes, I try to kind of split it right down the middle. So I have junior year, like career stuff, like here's what I did in film and stuff like that. And then I do the social side of it. And I'm not going to lie to you, this episode for the social side is going to be it's going to be a doozy, this one. This is the one I've been not dreading, but I've been like the most worried about to talk very openly and publicly about it. So just know I'm going to try not to say names. I'm going to try not to throw people under the bus because I don't think that's cool, especially because they're not here to defend themselves or give their side of the story. So that's not very fair. But it was a tough year. And a lot of shit happened junior year that, to be honest, even though it was, 2023, early 2023, late 2022, it's now 2026. So it's been like arguably 3 or 4 years since it's happened. It's stuff that I'm still kind of recovering from and stuff I'm still getting over slowly. And it's one of like the biggest reasons I started kind of seeking out like mental health, like help, like therapists and stuff like that. And a lot of it happened junior year. That's kind of all where all hell broke loose, was junior year. So we're finally here. So when we get to it, I'm just going to go fucking ape shit. Okay. Well, I'm not going to go ape shit. I'm not going to give out people's fucking addresses, but I'm gonna try my best to go ape shit, because I do think of this show as a very open and honest show, especially for a series like this. Like if you're going to Emerson, and I had these 4 parts, this whole 4-part series where I heard a lot of the pros and beauties of being Emerson, but also a lot of like the warnings and lessons learned from somebody who went to Emerson, I think I would have really appreciated it, and I would have gone in probably with a very different mindset, and who knows what would have happened. So I try to keep it open and honest. But again, at the same time, these are real people. So, got to be careful. But we're going to save all the juicy stuff second. Sorry, okay? We have a very cool guest today. I can't tell you who they are because they wanted to remain anonymous, and I'm going to respect that. But we have a cool guest today, and we did some cool-ass film stuff junior year.
So, why did I go to Emerson? I feel like I went to Emerson for the same reason that a lot of other film school kids or aspiring film school kids went to Emerson, is because they didn't get into NYU or USC. Unfortunately, I do think that's a bit of a reality of it. I live close to Boston, and I'm very grateful for where I ended up. I think going further away would have been unsuitable for me. I liked having access to my family if I wanted to sleep at home, or really just still engaging with all of the family stuff. I feel like I didn't miss anything, and I was able to see friends when they were home, that sort of thing. I also was in a city that I was familiar with, and I could always pull the "mommy, people are drinking," although I didn't really have to, because Emerson is not really a party school. So I mentioned USC, NYU. Those are some of the well-known film schools. They're all going to appear if you look up top 10 film school lists. I feel like the order shifts. I think Emerson's probably hanging out at about 6, 7, or 8. I think it bounces around a little bit. But of course, I'm looking at it as a 17-year-old applying to college, and I want to go to the best film schools, which are usually NYU, USC, AFI being a graduate school. I was fortunate enough to have film mentors prior to going to film school, so I was getting all different perspectives. I worked on one set, and this cinematographer, who's fairly established in the industry. I think he makes a good bit of money doing car commercials and things like that, and then we'll do some small indie films now. He told me drunkenly at the after party, he was kind of giving me an impassioned speech about how you shouldn't go to film school if it's going to leave you in any debt at all, and you don't have to go. Of course, I feel like most people are on this track. You kind of just you finish high school, you go to college. That's sort of just how things are. And I knew that I wanted to study film, so I was kind of like, okay, like, but I fortunately was exposed to people who went all different routes. So I had one of my core mentors, he went to USC and then AFI, so he's doing hardcore best of the best. Whereas I had another friend, and like a couple of them, that decided not to go to college, and they were making a living making music videos and commercials. So I kind of got different perspectives of going the hardcore film school route as well as making it on your own. And then I also sort of saw people who were willing to be the bitch, for lack of a better word, giving people coffee. And then there were people who refused to do that and only wanted to, do things on their own to be able to fund their own short films. So I feel like I got a myriad of perspectives. I knew I wanted to go to the school route just because that was sort of the track that I was on. I also know that I'm someone who thrives under deadlines, and now being out of school and not having deadlines, it's a little tricky. Yeah, so Emerson was not my first choice, but it's where I got into, and I was between Emerson and Syracuse for the schools that I got into. And while Syracuse's campus looked beautiful, I never visited. It was COVID, so I actually agreed to go to Emerson before I even toured it. But while Syracuse was a beautiful campus, it was kind of in the middle of nowhere, and I knew if I wanted to get internships and things in the future that I would want to be in a city. Granted, I didn't really end up getting internships while I was in Boston. I was very busy with extracurricular activities in school, so I did a lot of that, and then when I eventually got internships, it was either my semester in LA or I went to Orlando one summer. I liked to make movies with my friends, little iMovies. I'm sure you're familiar. Yeah, just playing around, doing a lot of things like that. I feel like I had a teacher when I was very young be like, you should be a director. And then it sort of just stuck. I knew when I was very young, I was interested in really any type of storytelling drew me. I like to draw a lot. I wanted to be a fashion designer at one point, actually. And I wanted to be an author. I thought about being an actress. And then eventually, once I realized that writer-directors could control sort of the whole story of things and how things are perceived on camera, that's sort of why I wanted to get into that.
Jumping right into kind of the film stuff we did junior year, because junior year actually, maybe in retrospect, might have been the most filmy year. Oh no, senior year we fucking crushed that. But junior year we did a ton, because that summer, like I said earlier, we shot Triptych, which was fucking awesome. It was so much fun. I also got to shoot it with like my old film partner from like high school, and then obviously Nick was there, so like we got to merge partnerships, which was really cool. Now looking back, there was many things I learned. That was like, because River Fork didn't have a script. Triptych was really like our first scripted thing that like we actually shot. So it was my first time. Not that I didn't direct River Fork, but like it was mostly, I'm just like, all right, let's just improv it and like, Jonah, go. And then Jonah would do his thing and I'm like, it's perfect. We got it. Let's move on. But for Triptych, because I actually wrote it, I was like, no, like I know how I want this to sound and I know like the tone of this. So like, I think I actually have to direct something for real this time. And I learned a lot from being on that set. One, like how to control a set, or like, if I'm being more honest, how you can lose control of a set. Like, if I've learned that if the director doesn't have confidence in himself or the vision, or is coming across like he doesn't have confidence, or even that he's like losing energy, that is how the rest of the cast and crew will feel. So like, I remember the first day shooting, I would go to give directions to the actors, and it's something I've never done before. And also one of them, I just had like a really weird connection to. So it was like, is this a friend or is this like an actor thing? Like, I don't really know what's going on here. So I would give directions, but you could tell I wasn't super confident. And then you could tell they weren't super confident in the project and in the vision. And like, as the day went on, they kind of started to like lose steam. Because I think they went in, be like, oh, this will be fun. And I feel really like, I really like this script. And then the more I started to direct them, and you could tell how uncertain I was. Yeah, I totally rubbed off on them. And I know a lot of the crew that we did Triptych with had been on other sets, and this was my first real set, again, not including River Fork. So a lot of the crew, you could tell, like, would look at me like, the fuck is this kid doing? Like, why is he not great at this? It's like, while it was super fun, because it was just like a really fun cast and crew, and I do think that parts of that script are decent. It's probably my least favorite of the 4 things I did at Emerson, but like parts of it are good, parts of it I still stand by. I would love to redo it one day. If I could redo something, it'd be that one. Big learning point as like, okay, do I want to be a director? Like, yeah, sure, the title's fancy, but is this something I actually like doing? And the answer is yes. I just wasn't very good at it because it was my first time. And I could see how there was like a ripple down effect of however the director is behaving and acting, that's how the rest of the crew and cast are going to also behave and act, whether they know it or not. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's a very collaborative thing and everyone contributes. But like, again, if the director is like angry that day and is just yelling at everyone and seemingly doesn't want to be there, then no one else is going to be there. It's like, hey, this is your project. Like, at the end of the day, sure, like we're all working on it, but it says written and directed by you. If you don't have confidence in this, why the fuck should I have confidence in this? And that's how everyone feels. And then I've learned the opposite years later, where I'm like, if I just act, 1, fake it till you make it, just act super confident. But 2, if I just act like an insane psycho and I just have all energy all the time and I just run around in a flight suit, that also trickles down and people have a great time on the sets now. So Triptych was like a big learning thing of like really directing my first written thing and working with people who have worked on sets and just kind of getting advice from people and learning kind of the directing style I like and how I like running a set. I like opening it and making it very collaborative. Like, even though I am the director, I want everyone's input. If someone has a better idea than the idea I have, I don't really give a fuck who had the idea. I don't need, like, I'm not that guy that's like, no, like, this is fucking my vision, it's my script. If like one of the background actors is like, hey, like, it could be kind of cool if you did the shot like this. I'm like, and if I think about it, I'm like, fuck, that actually would be really cool if we did the shot like this. We'll do the shot like that. Fuck it. Like, whatever makes the best thing at the end of the day, let's do it. So I learned I like that. But yeah, Triptych was very fun, but I was not the best director on Triptych at all. There's a reason that if you watch Psychedelic Toad and you watch Your Mama's Pie, and even if you watch Tales, there are actors that appear in almost all 3 of them who have worked with me multiple times. If you look at Triptych, none of those people have come back. And it's not a me thing. I just don't think when they think of their time on Triptych and me as a director, I really doubt they're like, oh, that kid's going to make it. And like, I really want to work with that kid again. I think it was like, that was certainly a weekend with a bunch of fucking film students in college who don't know what they're doing, which is very fair because that's what that set was. But hey, if there's any Triptych people listening, I would love to work with you again. But anyway, we shot Triptych, and then most of the first semester junior year was just spent editing Triptych. And for some reason, I don't remember why, but River Fork, we edited at Emerson, and they had like this big, beautiful computer lab that had access to all Adobe stuff. Premiere, Photoshop, Audition, like your heart's content. They had everything. For Triptych, I could have sworn I edited it on my laptop, but I don't know why the fuck I did that, because my laptop is old as dirt. I got my laptop like freshman year of high school? And I still rock it to this day. Like, cut to 2026. I think I got this thing maybe 10 years ago. And it's still running fine, but like, it can't run Premiere. It will just fucking crash and burn. I think it'll literally light on fire if you try to open Premiere on it. But for some reason, we did Triptych on my laptop. Like, I have a memory of me and Nick sitting on the ground of like a dorm room editing Triptych. And then we also screened it that first semester. It was like November. And here's what we did. We did a Boston screening because half the crew was like Emerson people that me and Nick knew. And then we rented out a very small little like screening theater in New York City. And we did a screening in New York because the other half of the crew was NYU people, which I thought would be really fucking cool. Because I'm like, you know, it was a merging of both schools. Because like my old film guy goes to NYU, or he went to NYU, I'm sorry. So, like, when I got him on board, he got a lot of his people on board. And then, obviously, when I got Nick on board, we got a lot of Emerson people on board. So, it was like this really cool merging of Emerson and NYU students. Even, like, famously, they don't really get along. but I'm like, I'm going to single-handedly unify these two schools. So we came together, and the Boston screening was first, and that was at Emerson, and it fucking was awesome. I think we could hold like 50 people in the theater. It wasn't like a super big auditorium, but we got like 50 or 60. Some of my teachers showed up. Some of like the actual cast and crew came down. People from like Berkeley who did the score for it. Shout out Amy, my go-to score girl, my John Williams. She went to Berkeley. She came in and we signed her in as like a guest, and she got to watch it on the big screen, and that was so cool. Projector was good. People were cool. Reception seemed to be pretty good. It was really like my first time showing it to people. So I'm like, okay, I think people like this. And then we have the fucking New York City screening. The biggest fucking shit show of my life. This was my least favorite thing of all time. So the screening, let's say the screening was on like a Sunday. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was over the weekend. So Friday, me and Allie get in my car and we start driving to Connecticut, where we're going to spend the night at like my mom's house, and then we're going to go to New York City because she doesn't live super far. And we obviously couldn't like get a hotel room in New York City. It's way too expensive. So me and Allie, who was part of the crew, we got in the car and we start driving down to Connecticut. And halfway through, I think my memory is my fucking tire pops. But keep in mind, it's night. Like we had classes on Friday. So we left at like 9 p.m. We're halfway from Boston to Connecticut, which is like a 3 or 4 hour drive, I think, if I remember correctly. It's like halfway through and bumfuck nowhere, the tire pops. So we were trying to find like a repair shop at night, but there was nothing. And I'm like, fuck, do we have to get towed? But we had like no reception at all. So we didn't know what the fuck to do. And we were just stuck. So luckily, because Mini Coopers are fucking brilliant. If you're looking for a car, I'm begging you, get a fucking Mini Cooper. Because the way they tires work is they're like, hey, if your tire's fucked up, you can still drive on it for a certain amount of miles at a certain speed. And we did the math, and we could just make it to the house and be fine. Now, also, we did this math like hours later, and it was like 2 a.m, and we're like, God damn it, we could have been like in bed by now. But we do the math, and we have this slow-ass drive home, sticking to the right lane, hazards are on. I'm like, I don't even fucking like New York City. I fucking hate New York City. And I'm doing this just for the crew that worked on it. I already screened it, okay, and it went great. I don't even want to do this, all right? I'm doing it just for them. So I'm in the car, fucking miserable, just fucking miserable. And we finally get home, we go to bed. And the next day, we take the car to a shop, and they're like, hey, we can have it done by like Tuesday. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work. I need it like in a couple hours. So we had to take it to like a different shop and a different shop. And it was like fucking $1,000. And I'm just a broke ass college kid. So I had to do that college kid thing where I just call my parents and any adult I know in my life. And I'm like, help, I'm stranded. I don't know what to do. Like my car is fucked up. We have a screening. I have school. Like I don't know what to do. So I like basically fundraised for my car, got the car fixed, and then finally go home. We can relax. We're like, okay, car is fixed. Screening's still going to happen. I was worried the screening was going to get canceled, but like I still really want to pull this off. And then Sunday, we drive into the city. We find like the cheapest fucking parking lot we can. That was like 4 miles from the screening, from like the theater. So then we walk 4 miles in this like the fucking shadiest part of New York City ever. It's also boiling hot, even though it's like November, December. Like it's almost winter. So I remember I was in like a suit. I was in my friend's suit, just sweating my balls off, terrified because we're in the shadiest part of New York City, fucking miserable because all my money's gone from trying to fix the car, and I'm in my least favorite city on planet Earth. I'm like, this is the worst day of my entire life. And we get to the auditorium, and the girl that like runs the place is super nice, and like we meet her, and then sure enough, out of all the cast and crew we invited, one of the actors walked in. I'm like, oh my God. Like it was, if you've seen Triptych, it was like the main guy of part 2. And this guy was really fun to work with. Like I really like him. And he showed up and I was pumped. And I'm like, okay, like part 1 was all New York City people. None of them showed up. Not one. I was like, fuck. Part 3, the main guy was an NYU guy. Lived in New York City. Didn't show up. I'm like, fuck. And then the crew. There was 2 lighting people that went to NYU. There was my good friend from NYU. There were sound people that went to NYU. None of them showed up. Not fucking one. I had one actor that lived in New York City that showed up. And everyone else that I spent all this money renting the auditorium, driving down, fixing the car, went through all this fucking hell just to reunite with them, show them the final product before we do the film festival circuit, do like a whole big celebratory, oh, you know, we made this together, thank you for working on it, all this stuff. No one showed up. And in fact, the one person I was like closest friends with in terms of like the New York people, when the screening was done, she never came. And then like an hour or two after we left the city, she's like, oh my God, did I miss the screening? I fell asleep. She just took a fucking nap. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? What the fuck? Like, I did all this for, I don't care. Like, what is this? It was so fucked up. And then it gets worse because this one guy came in and like, he was so good. The main actor in part 2 is so good. And I've seen him in other things. Like, he's a really talented actor. And one of my old high school teachers came, like with her son. And I was so pumped to see them. And I was so pumped to show them my film. And she knew the guy that like I was like good friends with in high school that worked on this project with me. And I told her that he was going to be there and he just fucking bailed. And I don't think he even ever gave me a reason. He just didn't show up. So there's 3 people, not including me and Allie, which is terrible because it was a relatively big auditorium. So it was really embarrassing. And then we go to show the movie. And I should have guessed this because when we got the auditorium, it was like the cheapest one in the entire city, but the projector was fucking awful. And all the color of the movie, normally it looks fine, but when it was projected, it was just way darker. So part 1, all of a sudden just looked like it was taking place at night instead of the day. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be really bad. Because if you've seen a triptych about water, part 2 is set at night. And part 2, on like a normal screen, TV, computer, whatever, is already pretty dark, but we made sure it wasn't like dark enough that it's ruined. Like you can still see things, but it's already dark. But on a piece of shit projector that makes everything way darker, you're not going to be able to see a fucking thing. And the lead guy from part 2 is in the audience, sitting like right next to me. So when part 2 starts, I just have like my head in my hands and I can't even look at the screen. I can't even look at him because I know he's just going to be so disappointed because he's probably thinking, oh my God, all my work for this stupid short and you can't even see me. And dude, part 2 starts and it's pitch black. Like it looks like the projector got turned off and it's just sound. And I remember him almost looking around the room like, is this a joke? Is this like a technical malfunction? Like what the fuck happened? And I'm like, oh my God. Like it was the worst feeling ever. So we finished part 2 and eventually like in part 2, the lights turn red. So you can see the ending, but like most of the movie you just couldn't see. And then part 3 happens, which no one that worked on part 3 was even in the fucking audience, so who cares? And then the movie ends. And I immediately turned to my old high school teacher, and I want to also talk to the actor and just explain like, hey, just so you guys know, the projector was fucked up. That's not what the movie actually looks like. And if you want, I can send you a link to the fully finished film and you can actually see your performance. And before I could say anything, the lead actor stands up, he turns around to face me. He's like, hey, nice to see you. Thanks for a great night. And he just runs out. He fucking runs away. I was like, fuck. Like, so to this day, I think I sent him a text being like, hey, just know the projector was fucked up. He never responded, and I've never heard from him again. I think he was probably so mad at the final product and how his performance turned out that he just fucking has ghosted me on everything. He refuses to talk to me, doesn't follow Quaywood, 0. But I feel terrible because he's so good. And then my film teacher, who I adore, I love her to death, she was more understanding of it. And I'm like, I can send you a link. And I think out of politeness, she was like, sure. I really doubt she ever watched it again. Probably because she thinks it's just this thing you can't see. So it was just a disaster. It was a disaster. No one showed up. The people that showed up saw like a shitty version of it. And like, it was just ruined. The whole thing was ruined. Every time I think of Triptych, I'm like, Triptych's fun, but that fucking New York City screening was the worst thing ever. And I will never come back to New York City to screen anything I do, okay? If I fucking direct Avengers 12 and they have a New York City premiere, I won't fucking be there, okay? I'll go to the LA one, Maybe we'll do a special Boston one. Fuck New York City. I refuse to go. So anyway, we did Triptych, which was fun, but also holy shit, what a learning curve. And then that same semester, I wrote Please Don't Lick the Psychedelic Toad. Based on, I gotta be careful how I say this, but it's based on things that happened on the set of Triptych. Not really. It's based on like one small thing, and then 98% of Please Don't Lick the Psychedelic Toad is pure fiction. It didn't even come close to happening. You know what I mean? But I wrote that, and I remember showing it to Nick, and I'm like, hey, I think this should be our next short. I think it's a really good script. I really like the title, etc. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to watch a fucking movie called Please Don't Lick the Psychedelic Toad? A triptych about water is like almost pretentious, but Please Don't Lick the Psychedelic Toad, that's like, what the fuck is that? I got to find out what that is immediately. So I wrote that, and then Nick was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And we tried to shoot it in February, and we had cast lined up. We had Connor, who ended up still playing the lead of Psychedelic Toad. We had him lined up, and then we had this other actress named Maureen, and we did like a photo shoot with the two of them. Because if you've seen the movie, there's like pictures of them in frames and on computer screens. So we did a photo shoot. We had like most of the crew lined up. I think trying to find crew was a fucking nightmare when we tried to shoot it in February. So like I was going to direct and also be like boom op just because we couldn't find anyone that was free. And we had like equipment lined up through Emerson, but like 2 days before we were going to have our first day of shooting. It was going to be like a 3-week thing because scheduling was such a nightmare that semester. But 2 days before shooting, Emerson fucking pulled the equipment. And I don't remember why, but they're like, hey, you don't have like the right permits or the right forms for the equipment, so you can't get anything. So all of a sudden, all our sound equipment, our lighting equipment, all our camera equipment was gone. I remember the day before shooting, going for a late night walk because I was so overwhelmed. And it was, the pre-production was such a bitch on this project. Like sometimes the stars just magically align for a project and sometimes they don't. And this was one where it just simply didn't line up at all. So everything was going wrong. Crew was dropping, cast was dropping. Some people said yes, some people said no. Like it was just a nightmare. Locations was a nightmare. It was insane. And finally, we had it all lined up. We finally pulled it off, and then Emerson fucked us at the way end. So I went for a walk just to clear my head, and I remember calling about 6 different people who I knew owned their own camera. And I was like, listen, I'll fucking record audio on my phone. I just need a camera. That's all I need. I just need a camera. And I don't want to shoot with my phone because I want this to look better than Triptych. That was like my big goal. I want it to look visually better than Triptych because I wasn't the biggest fan of how Triptych looked as like an end product. And we're calling all these people, and I'm like, hey, like, I know you have a Black Magic. Is there any way we can borrow it? Is there any way you want to fucking DP it? Sorry, Nick. Do you just want to show up on set and be our DP tomorrow? And everyone said no. Not one person would do it. And I still remember one fucking guy because he was free. He was free. And he was like, well, you should just shoot it on the phone. This is like a good film lesson. And I'm like, go fuck yourself. If you just want to say no, just say no. Don't try to turn it into a fucking lesson. I'm sick of this. So I was walking just full of fucking rage. And I remember I was walking by the Esplanade in Boston. And I was so upset and just broken. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just not going to work. I tried so hard to make this work. It's not going to work. And there was also just a bunch of like social stuff going on at the time, which we'll get into a little later in this episode. And I remember I had my phone in my hand, and I'm telling you, I was like 2 seconds away from just fucking tossing it into the Charles River. I was so done. I was like, I never want to see this phone again. I'm just going to disconnect. Here's what I'm going to do. This was genuinely my plan. I was going to toss my phone into the river, and then I was going to go back to my dorm room. I was going to drop out of Emerson, and I was going to go move to a fucking shack in Alaska, and no one was ever going to hear from me again. I would literally just disappear into a puff of smoke. I'm like, I tried. And you know what? I wanted to be a director, and the world said no, and I quit. And I was so close. But I didn't, and I just texted the whole cast and crew, and I was like, guys, I'm really sorry. I know everyone had this planned on their schedule, and this is such a waste of time and so rude. And like, I felt so bad doing it. But Psychedelic Toad has been delayed indefinitely. We don't know when we're going to film it, if we're going to film it. We have no idea. But yeah, it's just not going to happen. And it was the day before shooting. And most of the cast and crew we had lined up did not come back from when we actually shot it, which ended up being over the summer. And it was actually a really cool experience because, again, like I said, when we tried to do it in February, just nothing was lining up. Nothing at all. We couldn't get fucking anyone. We couldn't get equipment. It was just a nightmare. And then when me and Nick had the idea of, hey, let's shoot it in summer, like let's make it these dates in June, whatever. All of a sudden we started planning stuff and everything lined up. It was beautiful. Like the world was just like, you were not meant to shoot this in February. You're gonna shoot this in June. And sure enough, it worked. Like every cast member we reached out to, they're like, yeah, I can do June. Every crew, yeah, June, totally works. We got locations super easy. Equipment was super easy. Like, oh, it was just the best. It was such a good full circle moment. But yeah, we tried to shoot Psychedelic Toad, failed miserably. The New York City screening was a fucking disaster. So in terms of film, junior year, there was big steps. And again, learning like how I like to direct and my directing style and just being super positive and open and collaborative, but just making sure you have confidence in yourself and confidence in the project you're making. And then I learned that I fucking hate New York City and that I will never ever go back there again. And I wrote Psychedelic Toad and I'm still very proud of that script. And sometimes if a project just isn't coming together, it's either not meant to be or just not meant to be at that time. And that's okay. Just shelving it and being like, hey, we will come back to this at a later point and maybe the stars will align then. But just don't give up on it. But just, it's not meant to happen right now. And sure enough, that's what happened. February, we tried to shoot it. Go fuck yourself. We did it in June. Hell yeah. And it was awesome. But film stuff, pretty eventful, but also, goddamn, a lot of lessons learned.
Overall positive at Emerson. I think it could definitely be stressful at times, although I feel like some of that stress is self-induced. I think what I see, which may not be exclusive to Emerson, but here's sort of the pattern that I see of you're nervous freshman year, you don't want to get involved in things, and then maybe second semester freshman year, sophomore years, you overcommit yourself to all of these extracurriculars, and for however long until it takes you to realize not to do that anymore, like sophomore, junior year, you might be like really, really stressed out doing that on top of classes. And then eventually, most people tend to realize, like, junior, senior year, not to do that to themselves, although some people will always still do it anyway, and then things tend to mellow out. For the most part, like any school, like anything really, you get out what you put in. I think that I was heavily involved in, I'm calling them extracurriculars, but I guess student organizations, different things like that. I produced the student award show that we have at our school, which was run pretty intensely. We had a mentor, one of our advisors, worked on over 500 different award shows, including Oscars, Emmys, Grammys, anything that you can imagine. So she ran it as close to the real deal as possible, making it kind of stressful. But it was also an amazing experience leadership-wise, just with people, organization-wise. I feel like I got so much out of that. I was in a student organization. It was our biggest production organization as well, and we received pitches and were able to allot money to different students making their short films. That was amazing. There was all different things that I was involved in, and towards the end, I wanted to wind down and not be involved as much, but I feel like I got so much out of those, and admittedly more out of those than my actual classes. But the times where I had a really good relationship with my professor and went above and beyond, I did get a lot more of those out of those classes. Again, it's sort of, you get out what you put in. I don't know if this is necessarily my favorite thing, but I will say, I think Emerson should start advertising themselves as a really good broadcast school. I'm not saying that they shouldn't still advertise their film program, but their broadcast program is way more robust than their film program. I think, unfortunately, that's also just due to the nature of people filming in different locations, and broadcast being a centralized hub where it was able to be supervised by professionals who were able to constantly teach you things, whereas film, it was kind of just like, here's a camera, see you in 2 days. Our TV studio was really great, and we had really great staff, and the students who were hired to work there were trained really well, and they also gave a lot of trainings throughout the year to learn all the different equipment. We had a lot of shows. I worked on Good Morning Emerson, which is our Good Morning America dupe, which was also very stressful. That's when I learned news was not for me. I did do, as mentioned, my student award show. I did more broadcast at Emerson than actual film. And I think part of that had to do with the organized infrastructure of it. It had more, I hate to say it because we're adults, but it had more adult supervision. It was more taken seriously. We were able to get more funding and do more with it. I appreciated the structure of that. But yeah, really great for broadcast. So that also leaks into journalism. I think that people who are interested in broadcast journalism or being a newscaster, all of those types of things, I think they should go to Emerson. I don't happen to know about other schools, but as far as I know, I haven't seen anybody with a program quite like ours. Another favorite thing is all of the leadership opportunities and all just the opportunities to do things outside of class. I think that generally students are really invested in doing all sorts of things. Our theater program is really great. I wasn't really involved with it. They kind of separate like the film and theater kids. We had sort of inverted schedules, but I knew that their programs were really great and the shows were always sold out. A lot of really talented kids. A couple of kids who are on Broadway now, which was cool. So I feel like I knew them when. Film program, for the most part, unless you got saddled with a Friday class, we had 3-day weekends. So it was sort of built around making things. So people were on sets every weekend, and I had meetings throughout the week, and just there was a lot to care about beyond the classes. Leading into my least favorite thing about Emerson, which is probably the film classes themselves. I feel like I didn't get that much out of them. I've only been to the one school. I don't think that this is unique to Emerson. I've heard other things about NYU, USC. It can be a hurdle to get equipment. They have all of this amazing equipment, or they advertise all this amazing equipment they have. But in our case, you had to be in a certain class to have those equipment. And then sometimes post-pandemic, especially, there was a backlog of getting into the actual physical production classes. So sometimes you weren't able to get into them. But I think other colleges have this issue as well, where it's just really difficult to secure equipment, or there's just a bunch of hurdles to jump over paperwork wise. But the paperwork kind of freaked me out and would stress me out, and I wouldn't do it early enough, and that sort of discouraged me from taking full advantage of all of the equipment. So that was a bit of a hurdle. And then also in general with the classes, like I said, I don't feel like I got that much out of them. Although, as mentioned, you get out what you put in. So when I had a professor that I was really close with, I would go to office hours, and I feel like I established more of a rapport and got a lot more out of it, and a lot of the encouragement that I needed as somebody who can be, I'm a little intimidated by cinematography as a whole. So getting some encouragement to just experiment with that was really nice. But yes, the classes are not great, but that's, again, I don't think their fault. You're working with so many kids, and it's hard to get individualized attention, and a lot of it you are sent to go film things and then come back, which that's the reality of it. That's how it works. But still, when I was working in broadcast, you got that direct supervision and mentorship, as opposed to you might be some random place several T stops away with a bunch of other students, and they're not taking it seriously, or they're taking it too seriously. So anything like that, where the sets could be run any myriad of ways and the school wasn't directly supervising it, and you just kind of had to deal with it. But that's how it is. I also think that Emerson recently restructured how they do their courses. So what I'm saying now could be different in terms of just like the class structure. Because when I went, we had sort of media history. We had a couple of semesters of that. Some sort of media critique, which admittedly I think they were sucking the fun out of everything with that. The professor she said something wrong about, I don't know if it was a particular camera movement or a dolly or something like that. She said something wrong, and a lot of us picked up on it, and we realized she had never been on a set before, and then we just never took her seriously going forward. I feel she was more of an academic that would read into, I don't know, media subtext, which could be interesting. I chose to write my essay on the mummy, so I made it interesting. Yeah, so that was sort of the track that they put you on, and then you would be able to unlock some of the cinematography classes and the writing classes. I will admit the TV writing class that I took did not teach you screenwriting format. Fortunately, I went in already knowing it because I did a course with a mentor, so I already knew how to do that, but it was not taught. So not everybody knew it, and it made it really difficult to give critiques because some kids were still learning that. So that was a little bit jumbled, but that could just be the fault of the professor, who may be assumed.
Okay, moving into the social side of junior year, this is going to be a tough one to talk about. I'm not going to lie. But like I said earlier, I'm going to try to be super honest here and just lay everything out. Because I think it is pretty crucial in understanding kind of where I am now and my current struggles with like directing and like film, but also just like understanding a lot of the other projects I've worked on since and kind of like why the themes and stuff like that are what they are, if that makes sense, and just kind of why I'm at this point in my life. Because junior year was a fucking shit show, for lack of a better term. So, like I kind of teased with my journal earlier, I was worried going in about this merging of two friend groups, right? Because when I did the Castle Abroad program, like I said, just really rediscovered a part of myself that I thought was lost and rediscovered this confidence in myself and who I am that was missing for at that point a year and a half. So I thought it was just gone. I thought I had it in high school. I went to Emerson and it's just not a part of me anymore. And I was sad about that, but I almost accepted it. And I went to the Castle, found these new people, found this new like sense of adventure and purpose and joy and like this pure optimism of being alive. And I'm like, this fucking rocks. So then coming back to Emerson with this friend group that I wasn't the most comfortable with and in an environment where I wasn't the most comfortable in. Yeah, I was worried. I didn't know what my brain would do. I didn't know how I would act. I know how I wanted to act, obviously. I'm like, I want to keep up with this like newfound self that I really like and just like being myself and just not giving a fuck what other people think. But obviously easier said than done, right? So I remember going back. It actually started off okay because a lot of the time my Castle people would come in and it would just be me and the Castle people hanging out and that was fun. And to be honest, I was spending less time with the original group just because of like how I felt in that group. But I would still, obviously I lived with them, so I saw them all the time and I would still hang out with them. But I think a little resentment started growing on their part. Actually, I don't think I know that for a fact. Because also when I was at the Castle, I didn't really reach out to anyone back at Emerson. And I know other people did. Like, again, I went to the Castle with my ex, who was also in that friend group. And I know she very much kept in contact with the Boston people. Like, once a week, she'd FaceTime them and say hi and give them updates and text them all the time. Where I didn't really say hi to fucking anyone. Now, to be fair, no one said hi to me either. I don't think anyone texted like, hey, how's the Castle? But, you know, it's a two-way street. I didn't call at all. And it wasn't like an intentional decision. I think just I needed that distance and I needed that space and I needed the Castle just to fully be its own thing. And I can just be myself here and be open and be free at the Castle. And to kind of jump back into that mold of who I was back in Boston, even if it was just on a phone call, I was like, I really don't want to do that. Like, it was just, am I really going to put myself through that when I'm having such a great time? I really hope it doesn't make me sound like a dick. I hope that's understandable. I don't know. But I didn't really keep in contact. So there was resentment there for sure. And it was a quiet resentment that I wasn't told about too much later. And then when I came back, again, I lived with these knuckleheads. I saw them all the time. I hung out with them all the time. Especially the ones I wasn't super close with. I tried to get closer with, especially now that they were like my suite mates. But I still had like, my Castle people up in my room all the time. We'd watch movies and stuff, just kind of the three of us. And I really enjoyed that time because, again, I could really feel like myself around them. And I felt like I belonged in this group, where the other group I just never really fit in. Start from freshman year. If you remember all those journal articles from like weeks ago, I never really felt like I fit in with those people. So there was more resentment growing there. And then it gets worse because two things happened. One, and again, really trying not to name names here, but two people in the Boston group. Remember, there's the Boston group and the Castle group, right? The Boston group, two people at separate times, but very scarily close to each other, approached me and they were like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? Keep in mind, at this point, my dorm room door has a big old sticker that says peace and love. Like, I was just happy as a fucking clam. Like, at this point, I used to have that kind of Liam Gallagher fight in me, if that makes sense. Like, not like physical. I've never gotten in a physical fight. And I don't ever want to, because I think I would get my ass beat. But I didn't really like picking fights with anyone. And I'm like, confrontation and conflict, whatever, man. Just be kind to each other. Who cares? So these two people came in and they were so I remember them being so nervous about my reaction to what they were going to say. And I never understood why. Because I'm like, if you knew me, like the castle people know me, you know there's nothing to be worried about. Like, you should know me well enough to know that why would I be upset? And it was at that moment where it clicked. I'm like, oh, these people really don't know me at all. Like, they do not know me. I've known these people for 3 years. They have no idea who the fuck I am. And it's not their fault. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. When you're going to meet a bunch of people in your life, you're not going to hit the fucking bullseye with every single one, okay? I never got super comfortable with them. I just never fully clicked, so I can never be myself around them. If anything, it's my fault that they don't know me super well. But anyway, they came in, and they're like, hey, can I talk to you? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. What's up? And they're like, listen, I know this is super weird, especially because one of them I lived with, but he's like, I have a massive crush on your ex. And I was like, okay. And then they're like, what do you mean, okay? And I'm like, is that it? That's the whole thing? And he was like, yeah. And he's like, listen, like, we're good friends. And like, I'm also good friends with her. So like, I don't want to actively pursue it. But just like, I feel guilty about it and it's on my conscience. And I just wanted to like come clean and tell you. And I remember being like, I don't really care. Like, I don't know if that sounds mean, but I'm like, I don't know. We broke up like, at that point, almost a year ago. And then we also weren't super close at that point. We weren't really talking to each other. I'm like, she's living her own life. You're living your own life. We can still be friends. I'm like, I don't really care that much. I'm like, and again, they came in and they were so nervous that I was just going to be full of anger. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, why? And again, it was that moment where I'm like, God, you have no idea. Like, that's how you thought that I would react. You don't know me at all. That happened. And then they both had it in their heads. And again, I found this all out later, that they could have dated my ex, but I was like a problem. And it was like, if Matthew Pelton wasn't like in the picture, like if Matthew Pelton wasn't my friend, I would go for it. But because I'm friends with him, I can't. And there was a little resentment growing there too, which to me is bizarre because I expressed that I really don't give a shit. I'm like, you guys are your own people. Do what you want. Like, it's not going to bother me. Like, I'm trying to date other people anyway. Like, who cares? So, again, I don't know if that's like a healthy mindset or a weird mindset. I don't know. But I'm just being honest. That was my mindset at the time. On multiple different accounts, for almost a year straight, there was all this like quiet resentment growing that I didn't know about. There was castle resentment because I went off the face of the earth for 3 months. Which, again, fair. I didn't really express why I did that. I'm not really sure how I would have expressed it without hurting feelings. Because the Boston group, in the nicest way possible, were very strange people. If you said, like, one thing wrong, it could fly off the handle. Like, you had to really walk on eggshells with these people. So, there was that. And then there was that same semester, I spent less time with them. And I started distancing myself a little. Not completely. I still talk to people all the time. I still like have positive feelings towards them even after all this. But there's resentment there. And then there was the weird ex-girlfriend resentment where it was like, I have feelings for this person, but I cannot date them because of this guy, which wasn't even true. But for some reason, I got blamed for that. And I think it was like, oh, I could have had this beautiful thing, but this fucking asshole is in the way. Like this guy who's like not even hanging out with me that much anyway. When, again, in reality, I expressed, do what you fucking want, okay? So there are all these little tiny things going on that I had no clue. And I thought everything was okay. Like, when I would see them, and to my face, very polite, very friendly, we would hang out. And then come to find out, when I left the room, it was all, like, complaints and being like, what the fuck? Like, he's being a dick. Like, he's not hanging out with us. Like, why is he being an asshole? All, like, I really have feelings for this girl, but I can't even talk to her or he's going to get mad. I thought I was close enough with these people that they would just talk to me about it, but no one did. No one ever approached me. It was just building for months and months and months. And then, to add insult to injury, there was an incident where one of the guys that had a big crush on my ex, I was going to this burrito place called El Jefe's, which was on the same street as Emerson. It was like a famous Emerson spot. So I was going to El Jefe's, and I passed this guy in the group. And keep in mind, he didn't live in the suite, so I don't get to see him a lot. So I was like, hey man, what are you doing right now? And he's like, oh, nothing. I'm like, oh, I'm going to El Jefe's for lunch. Do you want to come? And he was like, I just ate. I'm going to have to pass. And I was like, oh, okay, no worries. So I leave. I go to El Jefe's. I take myself out on a little date night, and I get a burrito. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit at El Jefe's. I brought headphones. I was watching something on YouTube, eating my burrito, having a great time, okay? A little solo Matthew Pelton date. It was a first date with me, and you know what? He's getting a second one, okay? And he's going to get lucky. I was sitting there eating my burrito, and all of a sudden my fucking ex-girlfriend walks in with the guy who just basically lied to my face and said, no, I'm not hungry. I got like homework to do. And then 10 seconds later, he fucking walks in with my ex-girlfriend. And I don't know if they had like their arms around each other. Maybe I just daydreamed that, but it was something like that. And I was like, wow, you just lied right to my face because you were actually going to get lunch with my ex-girlfriend who you think for some weird reason I'm preventing you from hanging around, and you have to like lie and be sneaky about it. And I was like, what the fuck is that? What is that? Just be honest. Like, I don't care. I don't just be like, no, I'm actually getting lunch with, oh, I almost just said her name. I'm actually getting lunch with like your ex-girlfriend. But like, I know they're friends, so it's not a big deal. But I was so shocked and I was so hurt that I'm like, wow, I haven't seen this guy in so long. I invited him to this nice lunch. He said no, but really it was just to lie and go behind my back. I'm like, this is fucking weird. So I think I walked out, and I think maybe I do still have that Liam Gallagher in me, because I think as I walked out, you walk out and there's like a big window. So if you're in the line for a burrito, you can see people walking on the street and vice versa. So I was walking on the street and they saw me in there and they didn't wave or anything. They just saw me and you could tell they were whispering amongst themselves. I'm like, fuck this shit. So I got up to leave. They saw me leave. And as I was walking past the window, I made direct eye contact with them and I just flipped them off. I just flipped them off as I walked away. Not one of my finest moments, okay? I try to be very peace and love. I try. But I was just like, what the fuck is that? Like, to this day, it's still like, what the fuck? Like, why? Why? There was no need for that. So that happened. But the big event, and there's a lot of moving parts here, and it's kind of a complicated thing. So I'm going to try my best to explain it for those who don't know. But that semester in the suite was supposed to be me in a solo room. Nick was going to be in a solo room next to me, which I was super pumped about because I'm like, hey, we hadn't lived together since sophomore year, and then I went up to the castle, and obviously he didn't go to the castle. So it had been a minute since I lived with him, and like as a creative partner, just literally having him, sharing a wall with him. So anytime I have any kind of creative thing, instead of like now where I have to call him or leave him a voice message because he lives in Florida and there's a time difference, he might be at work, I could literally just walk over or just like tap on the wall and just be like, hey, come here. Like, I have a cool idea. So having that is so awesome. So Nick was going to live next to me, and then next to me, I'm going to give fake names because there's too many people, but there was going to be another kid named Oscar in a single. I'm sorry. I just watched Star Wars, so I have Han Solo on the brain. He was going to be in a single named Oscar. And then at the end there was like a big hallway, right? So it was 3 singles. It's going to be Nick, me, Oscar. And at the end of the hallway was going to be Jonah, Dean Patrick Myers himself, and he was living with a guy that we'll call Isaac, because why not, right? And they were going to be a double. So it's 3 singles and a double, 5 people in total. And very last minute, literally like 2 weeks before the semester started, Nick texted, and he was like, hey, I got an internship with The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. So I'm going to be living in New York City for the semester. I'm taking a semester off. I'm going to work for Jimmy Fallon. So actually, I won't be in that room for a whole semester. And we're like, oh, shit. Well, that's crazy. Like, congrats, because that's fucking awesome. Like, that's still, like, I'm still really impressed he got that, and it's one of the coolest things he's done. Like, it's fucking awesome to hear those stories that I don't think he's allowed to say on air, so we can't talk about it on Greenlit, and I can't talk about it here because I don't want to get him in trouble. But super cool he did it, right? And I was very proud of him in that moment. Obviously, I was sad that I wouldn't be living next to him, but I'm like, that's such a cool reason to not come back to Emerson. Yeah, working with Jimmy Fallon. Sorry, I can't come to our lecture today. Like, that's kind of badass. So he took off, and he was like, listen, is there any way that when I come back the next semester, I can still have the room? Because, like, I want to be in the suite with you guys. That was my room. Like, is that okay? So he reached out to housing, like the housing department at Emerson, and Emerson was like, absolutely. That's probably what we would have done anyway. we'll just have someone live in that single for 1 semester with the understanding that next semester they're going to go somewhere else because that is your room. It's got your name on it, and you were coming back in spring. And as a group, me, Oscar, Isaac, and Jonah, I had to remember all the fake names. Me, Oscar, Isaac, and Jonah all agreed. We're like, yeah, that works. You know what? Like, we agreed to live with Nick, but he's got a cool opportunity. So in spring, Nick is coming back into the room. But for fall, we just had a vacant room. So what do? And maybe not we, but Jonah, Oscar, and Isaac had another friend. We'll call him Noah. Me and Noah were never really good friends. I wouldn't even say we were friends. We've known each other since freshman year. But like I said in my journal, Noah had a very kind of specific energy, and it was a very, not like an energy vampire, because it wasn't that. You're going to meet a lot of people in your life. You're not going to be a fucking bullseye with everyone, right? So when me and Noah were in the same room, and it wasn't an anti-Noah thing at all, it just did not click. It just didn't, and that's okay. You know what I mean? You're not going to click with everyone. But when he was in a room, all my energy was gone. All my desire to speak, remember I said my brain's like a factory and sometimes it just shut off? When he was in a room, the factory fucking quit. I wouldn't say a word. I didn't know what to say. I was at a loss. I had no jokes. I had nothing to say. I didn't know how to talk to this guy. And he had a very specific energy. Some people would say weird. I'm trying to be nice, so I'll go with a specific energy. And it's not that I didn't like this guy, but when they told me the idea of, hey, should we give the single to Noah for a semester? Because Noah was in a situation with his roommates that like just wasn't great. I think he wanted out. And I was like, fuck. I was like, this is gonna be such a disaster. And I really don't want to do this. But they're friends with him, and he's in a tough spot. I'm not gonna be the reason he can't have a good semester with his friends. So, yes. I was like, he can move in. I have no problem with it. Like, let's fucking do it. Looking back might have been the biggest mistake I ever made. I should have put my foot down and be like, no, I don't really feel comfortable with that. But he came in. But he took Nick's single, so I shared a wall with him instead of Nick, which was heartbreaking. And things got really fucking weird. Because you got to remember, I'm in a group where I already don't feel like myself, and I don't feel confident, and I don't feel comfortable around these people. After knowing them for 2 years and like really trying, you know what I mean? Like just doing every social thing together, spending every waking second together. It just never clicked. And I never felt like I fit in with this group. And now because of all of these little resentments that I didn't know about, I was starting to feel like, oh, not only do I not fit in this group, but I don't even think they really want me here. I started to feel a little like unwelcoming. Like I would be in a room and they're like, eh. And they would do social stuff and I just never really got the invite. And like the writing was starting to be on the wall, if that makes sense. So with Noah coming in, it just kind of expedited that process of like they would hang out and they'd be watching a movie and they're like, hey, do you want to come? And if I already kind of wasn't having a great day and I saw Noah in the room, I obviously wouldn't make it that obvious, but I was like, I think I'm okay. I think I'm just going to chill in my room for a little bit. Or like maybe I'll invite Allie and my other castle people up. It was so tough because in my own fucking living space, I didn't feel welcome at all. And I didn't feel like they wanted me there. And I didn't even really want to be there at points. And I'm like, man, I miss Nick. I fucking miss Nick. So it was a really tough spot for everyone. And then it all kind of came to a head when it was towards the end of the semester. It was actually, I remember, it was very early December because my birthday was coming up. And in this friend group I was in, anytime it was someone's birthday, we would go into their dorm when they weren't there. Let's say they went to dinner. Like someone would go distract them. They came back, and when they come back, the whole group would be there, and we'd have like our arms above the door and like a pyramid thing. So you'd walk through everyone's arms, and we'd sing happy birthday. We'd have a cake and balloons, and we did this for everyone. And I remember majority of that semester, even though, again, I saw these people all the time. Like, I think I'm kind of downplaying how much I still hung out with them. But I remember thinking, I'm like, I wonder if they'll do that for my birthday. I really don't think so. Even though I'm still like, to my face, we're all on friendly terms and everything's okay. And privately, I still spoke highly about everyone. I didn't know privately they were speaking so negative about me until later. But I just had this feeling. I'm like, I think if they all ranked the group, I think I'm bottom for everyone. if I'm being honest, I don't think a lot of people really want me here. And I was like, I don't think they're going to do it. So early December, the conversation of the roommates got brought up again. And all of a sudden it was, hey, do we give the room back to Nick, or do we want to stay with Noah for another semester? And keep in mind, I'm trying to forget the fact that I'm like Nick's best friend, right? Just trying to be objective and as fair as possible. I'm like, well, wait a minute. We all agreed that Noah was one semester and Nick was the second semester. Like, we all shook hands. We all made that deal. Emerson knows that deal. And it's like a week from the semester ending, and we're talking about potentially just pulling the rug from Nick and just like sending him somewhere random. I'm like, well, that's not fair. That's not fair for anyone. Like, everyone was on the same page, and you just want to change that. And then it became a thing where a lot of the people in the suite were good friends with Noah, and they were just like, I'm going to be honest, I just want to live with Noah more because like I just don't know Nick as much. Even though they're friends with Nick and they still talk to Nick, and they would never said this to Nick's face where they're like, I just like Noah more. And I was like, wow, that's kind of a dick move, no? You all made this deal, we all said it was okay, and then just because you like the other guy more, you're just going to say fuck him and just go with him? Like, what's up with that? So I remember gathering all the roommates minus Noah, because Noah wasn't there. Noah fucked off for a little bit. So it was me, Oscar, Isaac, and Jonah. I'm like, hey guys, let's come into my room. Let's sit down and just talk all this out. And looking back, I fucking wish I recorded it, because what happened in that room is still up to debate to this day. From my opinion and my side of things, we went in and I said, okay, let's all just talk open and honestly. Let's weigh all the pros and cons of keeping Noah or keeping Nick, because one of them's going to be upset. And let's make sure we're all on the same page about this. And I said my piece, and I was like, Jonah, please, like, do you have anything you want to say? And Jonah said everything he wanted to say. I turned to Isaac, and I'm like, Isaac, I want to hear your opinion. I want to make sure everyone feels comfortable sharing their opinion. Like, let's make this a group decision. I don't want to be like the main guy leading this conversation. Everyone should feel open and honest. And everyone was. It was actually, to be honest, it was a very beautiful conversation, because everyone felt comfortable enough to just be like, here's what I think is right, here's what I think is wrong, here's what I think is personally what I would like to do, but like morally I understand. The only person that didn't talk a lot was Oscar. And I remember vividly, and I'll never forget it, there were 3 or 4 times, because I was sitting on a chair, Oscar was sitting on my bed, and I would look at Oscar and I'm like, hey, you've been a little quiet over there. I just want to hear what you're thinking. Like, please feel free to say what you're thinking. And then he would. But then he'd go quiet again. And like, I would kind of have to like hit him up a little bit and be like, hey, like, I want to make sure you're not getting drowned out here, because you're a roommate here too. We're all on the same exact level here. You know what I mean? So by the end of the night, the 4 of us decided, you know what? Listen, do most of the people here, like, personally, if they could, would rather live with Noah than Nick? Yes. I was the only exception to that one. But morally, we all agreed over the summer. We all made a deal. It would be so wrong to pull the rug on Nick last second. That'd be so fucked up. So we all agreed. Nick is coming in next semester, like we already agreed, and Noah, unfortunately for them, is going to have to move somewhere else. So we wrote an email to housing, and we were like, hey, just so you know, we talked about it, and we still want Nick to move in next semester, even though Emerson was like, yeah, no shit. But we wrote an email, and what we did is we schedule sent it for the next morning in case anyone went their separate ways that night, and they kind of had like conflicting feelings, or like they sat on it for a little bit and felt a little different. We purposely schedule sent it just in case anyone changed their mind. And also, by the way, that was my idea, because I'm fucking brilliant. And I was trying to be so inclusive and make everyone feel comfortable and like, no, this is a group decision and we're okay. And I knew that telling the rest of the group, aka like some of the other guys and the other women, because like we didn't live with women, it was just the guys of the group, and then there's a couple other ones. But telling the rest of the group, they were not going to like this decision, because they also preferred Noah to Nick. And it was just this weird thing where majority of the group, besides me, just preferred Noah to Nick. And I was really the only one standing up for Nick and being like, hey, I don't think this is right. I don't think this is the right thing to do. I understand personally that you just prefer this guy and want to live with this guy and see this guy more, and you don't want to see him get sent somewhere random. But like, we all made an agreement. You can't just go back on that because you just want to live with your better friend. Like, that's so fucked up. So I knew leaving that room that the group was not going to be happy that we came to that decision. So before we left the room, we sent the email and we said, listen, none of us tell the group yet. We can say, hey, we had a conversation and we're going to tell you about the conversation, but not tonight, because we wanted to tell the group as a group. We wanted the 4 of us to come together, sit down with the rest of the group and talk it through, because we knew they weren't going to be happy, even though in reality, only the suite mates matter, because it's who we're living with. You know what I mean? The group shouldn't give a shit, but they do. So I was like, okay, we'll cross that bridge later, but let's just make sure we're on the same page and everything's okay. And then here's what happened. So we all go our separate ways, and it's me and Allie, I think, just hanging out in my room, and all is cool. Nothing has exploded yet. And then I get a phone call from someone in the group, and I was like, hey, what's up? And she was crying, and I was like, whoa, what the hell? And she was like, listen, I hate to tell you this, but I went out to get dinner or drinks with a couple of the other people in the group, including Oscar. If you remember, Oscar was the one that didn't really speak up a lot, and I kind of had to keep being like, hey, I want to really make sure that your opinion is heard and your voice is heard. She was like, I went out to drinks with Oscar. Oscar was telling everyone in the group, 1, the decision that was made, 2, that he doesn't agree with it at all, and he feels forced by you. He was like, he said specifically, like, no, like Matthew Pelton forced everyone to come up to that decision. No one agrees with it. He was like a dictator in that room. He didn't let me say anything. Like, I don't want to live with Nick. I want to live with Noah. And he told everyone. And he said all this fucking nasty shit about you. And I was like, wow. And that's the moment where I'm like, I should have recorded that conversation. I totally should have recorded that conversation, because there are 2 wildly different stories of what happened in that room. And to this day, that whole group believes Oscar's story. And they never even heard my version of it because they refused to listen to it. I tried to tell, they refused. And just know, to this day, if you ask Isaac and Jonah what happened in that room, they say the exact same thing I say. Everyone was like, no, like, that's not what happened at all. They're like, no, we all talked about it and we all came to a decision and everyone said their piece. Like, he didn't lead fucking anything. If you took what was said in that room and wrote it in a script, I didn't say the most. Like, I think Jonah and Isaac said more than I did. Like, I didn't even read the fucking thing. It was this thing where, like, Oscar went around and told everyone everything. And the way he said it just fucking threw me under the bus. And I know for a fact that Oscar is best friends with Noah. Fucking best friends. And that little resentment that would have been building for months and months and months, Oscar had towards me. And in that moment, he fucking sealed my fate. Because I knew all those people that already kind of didn't want me there, that already had these little things. If Pelton wasn't in the way, I could date this person. If Pelton wasn't in the way, we could live with Noah. If Pelton wasn't in the way, like, we would just have more fun. All these little things. They just needed one fucking good reason to get rid of me. And he just gave it to him on a silver platter. He just fed it right to him. And I knew, oh, I'm out. I knew when I got that phone call, I'm like, I just lost all of these people. And even though I never felt comfortable with them, I still spent 2.5 years with them. I lived with them. Like, I've gone through many things with them. They were my good friends. And these are people that, you know, didn't know me super well, but they were good friends. And it's like 12 of them. And in one night, all 12, I fucking knew they were gone. So when Oscar came back to the suite, I started talking to him about it. And I tried to start off calm and peaceful and peace and love, whatever. And that very quickly got out of hand. And he started yelling. And then I don't like really yell. I just kind of become more of an asshole. So I became more of a dick. And he's like 6'4". It's like a tall fucking dude. He's a tall dude. He's a big dude. Not in a mean way, but he's like you see this guy and he's like a tank. Like, you don't really want to fuck with this guy. And he's also the guy that, again, this is why I can't say names, but a lot of the group was scared of. Like, one of his roommates from a year ago, this is real, one of his roommates a year ago literally slept with a knife under his pillow because he was so afraid of Oscar. And, like, that Oscar might do something physical or Oscar might just, like, snap. And people were genuinely afraid of him. And there was a couple moments where it's like, oh, you don't want to fuck with this guy. So all of a sudden I'm in an argument with this guy, and Oscar starts doing like that bear thing where you get like really big, you puff up your chest and you try to make yourself look bigger, which to me that kind of does the opposite, where to me like the reason I don't really like physical violence is I just think it's silly. I'm like, I feel like any problem can be resolved with words. There's no need to get physical and like physically hurt the other person. I just will never understand it. So he was starting to get physical, which just almost made me laugh. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? It had the opposite effect. But there was part of me that was freaked out because I'm like, this is the guy we've all been worried will snap. And now he's getting upset with me and he's getting really big and scary. And I was like, maybe I should just shut the fuck up. So me and him stopped the argument and we went our separate ways. And that was the end of that night. I was like, all hell has just exploded. So kind of the leader of the group was a girl who we're going to call Sarah. It's obviously not her name, but her name is Sarah. Like 2 days had gone by and no one from the group had said anything to me. People in my suite were ignoring me besides Isaac and Jonah, who had both come to me privately and they're like, hey man, just know that like we don't agree with what Oscar is saying. Like we don't think you did anything wrong, which was nice to hear. The only problem is when they went to go hang out with the group, from this point forward, the group would just tear me to fucking shreds privately. They'd be saying all this horrible shit. And Jonah and Isaac in that room, even though they didn't agree with what they're saying, wouldn't say anything. And I'm like, listen, I appreciate you being on my side and kind of telling them what happened. But like, you're actually not telling them what happened. You're just not speaking. I know like Jonah told me once, he's like, yeah, like Sarah turned to me after fucking destroying you for 2 hours and was like, Jonah, what do you think about all this? And Jonah was like, well, personally, I don't think he really did anything wrong. And Sarah was like, oh, okay. And they just went back to trashing me anyway. So I'm like, okay, well, you're not really like defending me at all, because they both knew, like I knew, that if they defended me, they're just going to get themselves in trouble with the group because the group had so much resentment towards me already. And again, they're already looking for a way to get me out, whether they know it or not. So they couldn't say anything because they didn't want to be excluded from the group. It became that much of a witch hunt. So finally, a couple days go by, and Sarah reaches out, and she's like, hey, can I talk to you? And I'm like, yes, fucking please. I'm like, do you want to come to my room? And she's like, no, I don't want to go there. I want to go somewhere more neutral. Let's go to my room. And I'm like, well, fuck that. If we're doing neutral, I'm not going to your room. So I'm like, let's do a common room. And she's like, okay. So we go to a common room. I went in under the pretense of this is going to just be a conversation, and I can finally explain my side of what happened, because no one's asked, and every time I go to tell my side of the story, it just gets silenced. Like, my voice was literally taken away from me in these moments. I couldn't say anything to anyone. No one was listening. No one cared. They heard Pelton did this. They took it. They ran with it. Never came to me once. My voice was lost. So I went into this conversation, and she's like, do you want to start? And I'm like, sure. And I think I literally said, I'm like, I feel like my side of things and my voice has just been silenced, and people are speaking for me, and no one is talking to me, and no one's asking. So I'm really happy that I can finally sit here with you and kind of talk you through everything. And I explained everything I just explained in this podcast, okay? This long-ass fucking podcast. Then she went to go speak. And I realized about halfway through her speaking, I was like, oh, she came into this room knowing exactly what she was going to say. So no matter what I said, she had prepared a speech, and she was going to say what she wanted to say. I could have fucking spoke Latin, okay? She would have said the same thing. She didn't listen to a single fucking word I said, not one. And this is another one I should have recorded because it was crazy. So she started responding. Well, not responding. She actually didn't respond to a single thing I said. She didn't address anything I said. Nothing. She started talking, and she was like, what you did was fucking disgusting. It's disgusting. And she was like, Oscar doesn't even feel safe being in that suite, and that is unacceptable. And she said that, and in my head, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is the guy that everyone's afraid will actually physically attack you, and he went to go get physical with me, and he's the one going around saying I'm afraid to live in the suite? Like, what the fuck is that? But again, I wasn't allowed to say any of this, and even if I did, it would have been completely ignored. Like, they had made up their mind. So she was like, that's disgusting. And she basically said, and I'm paraphrasing because it was much longer and nastier than this, but she basically said, you're a fucking monster. We all think you're a fucking monster, all of us. And we all have, like, forever. They're like, we don't like you. We've never fucking liked you. And we need to step away from you. We can't be your friend anymore. And I was like, whoa. Like, I did not see it going to that level where they're like, you're literally a disgusting human. Like, you are a worthless piece of shit. Getting told that by someone you've been friends with for 2.5 years, has met your family, has been with you for a lot of dark moments and tough times, was fucking destroying. Like, it just exploded my world. Instead of getting upset or angry for the next probably year of my life, I walked around every day being like, well, what if they're right? Like, what if she's right? What if I am just like a fucking disgusting piece of shit, just a monster of a person? And I really had to grapple with that idea of I am awful every day. Because I'm like, these are people that did know me. Now I can sit here now and be like, they didn't know me super well, and I know that to be true. But at the time, I'm like, well, no, but I've known them for 2.5 years. If that's the conclusion that they all came to, maybe they're fucking right. And it was some of the darkest times of my entire life of just being like, I am a piece of shit, and I'm worthless, and I'm a monster, and I don't deserve to be friends with anyone. I don't deserve love. I should just go fuck off. Like, I should go live in that shack in Alaska. And that was genuinely the feeling. And now, again, looking back, I know that there's all this resentment that built up. They were just looking for a reason to get rid of me for, in my opinion, very terrible reasons of, I want to date this person, or I want to live with my good friend. And like, fuck this guy for getting in the way. Fuck this guy for not reaching out more and like wanted to be like super close friends with me. Fuck this guy for having other friends. Like, the whole thing was so fucked up. The reason they wanted me gone. Oscar just fed it to them. And they took it and they ran with it. And not once did they ever ask me, hey, what's going on here? Or not once did they ever say, hey, like, we're still your friends. Just know that. We just, this is a weird situation. We're going to get to the bottom of it. Nothing. And I've been in conflict with other friends before, actual true friends. And those friends, even in conflict, I don't worry about them running away forever and thinking I'm like a piece of shit. Like, I know we'll be fine and we are friends. And if they hear something about me, instead of being like, you're right, that guy sucks, they're like, no, I'm his friend and I know him and I'm going to approach him and we're going to talk about it and be like, hey, I heard this thing about you. What's going on? And that was just never given to me. They never gave me a platform to speak or to defend myself. And they never gave me the grace that actual friends would. And they saw an opportunity to get rid of me and they fucking took it. And they just took it. And to this day, I don't think they realize how devastating that was for me. And then moving forward, they spread the gospel of how terrible I was to just strangers. I got painted as just this pure black and white villain. I went from like a gray person to I'm just a monster, and they just wrote me off. And the second you paint someone as black and white like that, you can say and do whatever you want to them and not feel bad about it, because in your eyes, they're not a rounded person anymore. There's like, oh, that person's a bad person. So I can tell people they're a bad person and I can do these terrible things. And I'm in the right because they're bad, when no one is fucking black and white like that. Unless you're like fucking Ted Bundy, then fuck yourself. But like, people are gray and people are complicated. But the second you paint someone as that, it's so dangerous. And it's such a mob mentality that you can really ruin someone's life. And for a long time, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to recover from this. And it's like a year after everything happened, I started dating someone, and Sarah was in a class with that girl's best friend. And she was like, hey, is your friend dating Pelton? And she was like, yeah, I think so. Because it's pretty early and we hadn't really announced it to anyone. She's like, yeah, I think so. And then Sarah went on a 2-hour spiel to a complete stranger that she just met, how fucking terrible I was. And she's like, your friend should run away from him. He's not a good person. And I was like, wow, what the fuck? And then the best part is, like 2 months later, my girlfriend's best friend was like, yeah, I had a whole class with Sarah. Sarah fucking sucks. She's annoying as hell. She hated Sarah by the end. And I'm like, yeah, Sarah is annoying. And it was just like, I'm telling you, they would go around and just tell people how fucking terrible I was. And this whole thing just caught on with nothing I could do about it. So any classroom I walked into, any room I walked into, I immediately was fearful. Because I'm like, I don't know what these people have heard about me. Because I know the name Matthew Pelton is now a really bad stigma. Like, you don't want to be associated with that name. And hey, guess what? It's me. So I didn't know. I could walk into a room and everyone could shoot me dirty looks. And I'm like, you probably think I'm a fucking asshole. I don't know what you've heard. And it just, the whole school, it felt like the whole school just turned against me and was like, fuck this kid. He's a monster. And we don't accept him in anything. And I spent a lot of time just with my head down being like, what if they're right? What if they're right? And that's how most of junior year was spent. And that's how most of senior year was spent. Spoilers for senior year. So that was all semester 1 of junior year. Semester 2 wasn't much better. Like, Nick came back. Nick did get the single at the end of the day. And it became a thing where, like, I would just hang out with Nick. No one else, really. All my stuff that was in the hallway, like, I would put up Christmas decorations. I had posters up. I took it all down, and I just put it in my room. And actually, I almost moved out. I almost moved out of the suite. I'm like, if you guys don't want me here, then what am I doing? Like, I'm just miserable. And I ended up not moving out of the suite because I was like, fuck him. Fuck him. Especially Oscar. Oscar fucked me so bad that I'm like, if Oscar feels uncomfortable with me in the suite, instead of being like, you know what, I'll move, I'm like, no, go fuck yourself, dog. To this day, I still have positive feelings towards all of them. And, you know, that really just got out of hand. And I'm sure looking back when they're older, they'll probably realize that it wasn't handled the best. They still might have the greatest feelings towards me. But they're like, yeah, we probably could have handled that differently. Could have handled that better. Still fuck them, but, like, you know, whatever. So it was just me and Nick every day, and I really didn't have any other friends. Even my castle friends started to really separate from me. Allie really didn't. Me and Allie were still really close, but everyone else started kind of backing away because they're like, hey, you're a bad person. Like, that's just word on the street. So I'm like, all right, like, I get it. It's like you stepped on dog shit and your shoe is covered in dog shit. Like, just throw out the shoe. And yeah, I just kind of got thrown out, and it was just me and Nick. And I think me and Nick bonded really strongly because when I got thrown out, just by association, they threw out Nick for no reason, just because me and Nick were good friends. So all of a sudden, Nick came back to no friends either, which is bizarre. I still don't know why they did that to Nick. And they also hate Nick. They'll go around saying terrible things about Nick. And I'm like, he wasn't even there. Like, he was working with Jimmy Fallon. He wasn't even in the same state. Like, why is he catching strays? What the fuck did Nick do? So Nick came back to no friends. And I was the only one that really stood up for him and defended him. And he was really the only one standing up and defending me. So we just grew really, really close. I mean, we already were, but we just grew way closer because we were the only ones that really had each other's back at that time. Junior year was a big turning point. And to be honest, if it happened freshman or sophomore year, I probably would have switched schools. But junior year, I was so late into the game that I'm like, fuck it, I might as well just ride it out, get the film degree, and get the fuck out of here and never speak or see these people ever again. And that's kind of what I did. I haven't really spoken to any of them besides Nick. And, like, Jonah occasionally I'll still reach out to. And there's some other people from that group that, like, I'm still on friendly-ish terms. But, like, more stuff happened senior year. Obviously not as bad. And just, yeah, it all just exploded. And I got painted as, like, a black and white fucking monster. And when that happens to someone, you really can do anything and everything and still sleep at night. I do like to think in a different world, or if just one of them had been like, hey, we care about this guy, so let's just go talk to him and figure out what's going on here, instead of, like, hearing this terrible story and just running with it, I think we'd probably be fine. I think I would still be friends with all of them. I really do. So that was social stuff junior year. A big turning point of going to the castle and gaining all this confidence back, and then coming back and losing all of my friends except 2. Like, I went from, like, 17 to 2. And I went from, like, I'm borderline anonymous at this school, or, like, I have a relatively good reputation, to you hear the name Matthew Pelton and it goes like, uh-oh. A lot of tough film stuff, but good lessons learned, and, like, really good things happened creatively, and just having that opportunity to live with my creative partner again, and really for the last time, was so nice. But socially, it was just a complete disaster, and all the confidence I had grown from the castle immediately got wiped. I was like a fucking superhero. I feel like I just gave off radiation. I'm like, okay, I'll just go live far away and I just won't talk to anyone ever. Because if I'm just a net negative, why would I do that to people I care about? You know what I mean? So that's how I felt for a long, long time. because of everything that happened. You know what, though? That's why Mama's Pie happened, and that's why Quaywood happened, and that's why we're here today. So overall, it ends up good things came from it. Wouldn't want even, like, my most hated enemy to go through that. I don't want Oscar to go through that. I don't want Sarah to go through that. I don't want any of them to go through that because it's fucking terrible. But that was social stuff of junior year. Not very fun.
As mentioned, I do think I learned so much about leadership, organization, working with people from disciplines that you might not fully understand. My producer roles were often something akin to a project manager, where you're working with people and overseeing them who do things that you don't know how to do yourself. So that's difficult and a little bit nerve-wracking because it was hard. I was just like, I need to ask for this from the choreographer or the editor and who does visual effects, and I don't know how to do all of those things. But I think doing your best to try to understand what everything takes to adequately estimate how long things take, that sort of thing. I could do a whole podcast about that, but learning how to work with people from different disciplines and learn from them, that sort of things. Also, in orientation, one of our orientation leaders said, everything at Emerson is optional. And he said that, and I think he immediately regretted it. He's like, I probably shouldn't have said that. But I took that to heart because orientation week was very busy. There were a lot of events. I felt the need to attend all of them. I thought that you had to. It was exhausting. It felt like the first day of kindergarten. It was really tiring. I know there's a picture of me first day of kindergarten, like taking a nap afterwards. And it was like that, moving into a new place, having all these new things, meeting all these new people. I had to take a nap, and I'm not normally a napper. And knowing that everything is optional, I chose more strategically what orientation events that I was interested in, and I wasn't punished for not attending any of them. And I think that the idea that everything is optional, well, again, it might discourage you from doing work at times. I think I just took it in more of a way where as you won't get penalized terribly. Obviously you might get a late grade or something like that, but I think that as somebody who was anxious throughout high school about like doing everything on time and all of these different things, or like what's gonna happen if I don't do this, I think it just sort of alleviated some anxiety to know that like you can miss a class, or you can ask for help, or you can, turn this in a little late, or ask for an extension, or just anything like that. And just knowing in life that things are optional and, you're not gonna get beheaded for not doing something, and just clear communication is something that I have learned. A lot of times with one of my advisors, I remember that I got a lot more empathy and a lot more help for just saying, hey, I'm not going to have that done when you expect it to be done. I'm struggling, I'm stuck. And they might roll their eyes, but they will help you. And I think that that is so much better than lying or concealing and then just like missing a deadline. So that's something that I can pass on to the next generation of potential Emersonians, is just everything is optional. And, if you are struggling or don't think you could do something, just be honest about it.
So anyway, to recap junior year, and kind of some big takeaways from it. One, in terms of directing, obviously be open and collaborative with everyone on that set, right? That's kind of the best part of filmmaking, is everyone coming together to make this one thing and to work on this one thing. But as a director, you need to have confidence in yourself. You need to have confidence in your vision. Because if you don't have confidence, why should anyone else? And I learned that the hard way, okay? And also just like, if you're low energy, everyone else is going to be low energy, okay? How you behave will dictate the set. That is the biggest takeaway I can give you and I can recommend, is you have to be on your fucking A game. Just be a fucking freight train of confidence and energy, and don't give a fuck, okay? Even if it's not real and you leave that set being like, what the fuck am I doing? Fake that shit till you make it, okay? So biggest takeaway in terms of film, be fucking confident. Be a confident director, okay? Your vision is fucking genius. Just pretend it's fucking genius, okay? If someone else has a good idea, fucking run with it. Just go for it. Now, social stuff, again, my biggest takeaway is you're going to meet a lot of people in life. You're not going to be a bullseye with everyone, okay? Don't force it. Because I have been trying to force it with this group since freshman year, and I was so afraid of letting go of these people. I ended up getting really badly hurt in the long run, just because I was trying to force this for 2.5 years, and eventually it all just kind of backfired, which obviously it did. Like, looking back, fucking obviously, right? And I still have this problem where I very much cling on to people. I don't really like letting people go. I think anything can be resolved. Like, it feels weird to me. I latch on to people and I just won't give up on them to save my life. And this group was that. I would not let go. When everything in me was saying I should, I refused to let go, and then all hell broke loose. Listen, if you're around people and it's not working, and you don't feel welcome, and you're not comfortable around them, and it's kind of like a toxic relationship, it's okay to let go. Prioritize yourself. It's okay. Like, because once you find the people that you're happy with and you're happy to be around, there is no better feeling. So just chase that. You don't have to force it with everyone. Have confidence in yourself as a director, but have confidence in you. And just know if you're not happy, you fucking deserve to be. Go find your people. So that was junior year of Emerson. Thank you for listening to part 3 of Why I Chose Emerson College in Director and Development, the 4-part series. Stay tuned for senior year. Not as juicy or gossipy as junior year, but that probably means the episode won't be as long. So you're welcome. I know it's kind of a tough subject. Obviously, I don't really like revisiting junior year. I don't really talk about it a ton, but I knew for part 3 that this was going to be a fucking doozy. So I hope I at least could bring some entertainment into it and make you laugh a little. I hope it wasn't a fucking chore to sit through this episode. But thank you for listening. If you want more of me for some fucking reason, again, Directing Development is every other week on Monday. And Greenlit, I can't believe this got greenlit, that I host with Nick Warner. Shout out Nick. I do love that kid. We host it. It comes out every Friday. We revisit movies from our childhood. It is such a fun show. Check us out. Check out Quaywood if you want to watch the shorts. You can go watch A Triptych About Water. Just don't watch that shit in New York City. And you can go watch Please Don't Look the Psychedelic Toad, which, no offense to the cast and crew, Psychedelic Toad is much better. Okay, I'm out of here. I will see you soon. Thank you for listening. This has been Director and Development. I have been Matthew Pelton. I hope I wasn't too boring. See ya!
This has been a Quaywood audio production.